My name is Bill Durden, and I'm delighted to be back with the next letter to a young student. And in this letter, I want to concentrate on a soft skill, I call them operative skills, that come out of the liberal arts and that I think can be very important to you as you not only organize and build your life, but also in any profession that you pursue. This comes from my own experience, and as an undergraduate, I was a German and philosophy major. It could be more useless on the face of it. It is not. Then I went on to a Fulbright in the University of Basel, Switzerland, and I looked into silence in fairy tales. My goodness, what appears to be useless, it is not. And then I went on to graduate studies at Johns Hopkins, and I wrote a dissertation on exactly what we're doing here. I looked into the beginning, this was a doctoral dissertation at the beginning of a genre called the literary advisory letter. This was an older poet writing to a younger poet and giving advice on the poetry of that younger poet. Now, what are we doing here? Exactly the same thing, not poetry, but on life and on how to approach college and jobs. That dissertation, I kept in my mind. I kept in my, when you wrote it, it was only mostly for a profession in academics. Nobody ever said it had real life or wider life applicability. But my second job, when I was still quite young, I was asked by the president of Hopkins to build entrepreneurial effort, build a new entity at the university, build it, scale it. And that was what has now become the Center for Talented Youth, an organization that identifies, educates, and researches talent in children and in youth. And when I was on the job a while, we noticed, my colleagues and I, we noticed that there were students who wanted extra help in the area of writing and to get some advice. And I had also in the back of my head the comment of the president from Hopkins that he said, Bill, the good news is that you are at Johns Hopkins. The bad news is perhaps that you must make that entity not only grow it, but make it self-sufficient financially. It must, through either your own fundraising, the internal efforts of what you do with the institution, it must be self-sufficient. Then I thought, when I had this challenge, and we were talking with colleagues of what these young people wanted, I said, my dissertation. So what we did is we started something then called the Expository Writing Tutorial. And that was where we helped out many young poets and fiction writers across the United States, across the world, who had extra employment, and we matched them with young people who wanted advice in writing. That has since become a rather large part of the online efforts of the Center for Talented Youth. And it, in part, helped underwrite the budget, the finances of the Center for Talented Youth. So there you go. A seemingly useless work in literature has application to financially supporting an entity that is giving service to young people throughout the world. So I want you to think about that, and then just some questions. I have some here. I always try to do that. Do you think of a school or a college and university as a business or business-like? What do you think is involved cognitively, culturally, creatively, in perceived similarities between differing areas of activity that lead to innovation? Notice I took the letter and then I put it over to an application that produced finances. I'm going to talk about more of that issue in further letters. Have you noticed in your own activities similarities between differing groups of knowledge that make you think about something in a different way? And a famous German intellectual scientist, Alexander von Humboldt, once said that all knowledge is related. Do you believe that? Is all knowledge related? Again, just some things to think about, debate, and see whether this is useful information as you get the maximum amount from your college experience and you look at your job opportunities and make job selection. Take care.